Welcome back to Stylish Naija YouTube channel. Today I just want to say thank you to all of my subscribers. I really appreciate you guys a lot. I do appreciate you guys. So if you are new to my channel, you're highly and very welcome. Today I'm actually going to be showing you how to draft a bodice sloper. Yeah, I've been getting this request from some of my subscribers, and so for those of you that actually don't know what a sloper is, this is just a pattern that you should have as any soulmate. It's just like a genetic pattern based on your actual measurements. So that is just what a sloper is. So I'm going to be showing you how to draft it today, because we are going to be making use of it a lot from our up and coming tutorials. So just to help and save time in the pattern drafting ones that I'll be showing you how to do. So we're going to be making use of this bodice sloper. So that is why I just decided to make it, to show you how to do it today, so you could do yours and then keep it, and then you use it for your up and coming project. So the first lines that I have here, I actually have some lines folded on, written that, or ruled out rather, on my pattern paper already. So I'm just going to fold this pattern paper, because I'm going to be using it both for the back and then the front pattern. So I'm just going to fold it with about 2 inch inwards, which I'm going to be using as the back of my sloper. So yeah, I got it. So 2 inches in for the back of my sloper. So the first line that I have here, I'm just going to use this line. I'm going to just call it like my shoulder line. So it does not actually have any measurements. So the next line I have is from my shoulder to my bust line, which is 10 inches. So I'm going to call this my bust line. And then from the shoulder line to the waistline is actually 16.5 inches. So this is my waist line. And then the hip line is just like just your complete torso. What I mean by your torso, that's from your neck line to your hip line. So that's when you're making your sloper. So that's just the measurement that you need. So my hip line is actually 25 inches. So that's what I'm going to do. So this is like my hip line. So the first thing I'm going to be adding now on this sloper, so I'm just going to make it as simple and as easy as possible. The first line that I'm going to be adding to this sloper now, I'm going to measure out my shoulder measurement. So this is my shoulder measurement. So I'm going to my shoulder measurement is 9 inches. So 9 inches, when you divide, like I told you, a sloper is a pattern that is your accurate body measurement. So I'm using 9 inches for my shoulder measurement, and then from the 9 inches I'm just going to come down I'm going to measure 9 inches, which I'm still going to be reducing 1 inch from, because it's going to serve as my chest and line measurement. So I'm just going to connect it with a straight line like this. So this is going to serve for my armhole. So I'm just going to rule it out like this. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to measure out the neckline for this sloper. So I'm making use of 3 inches, because I'm going to be using this sloper. I'll use it for jackets, I'll use it for blouse, I'll use it for so many projects. So as we go along on the channel, so I'm making use of 3 inches. That's the width of 3 inches. And then the depth that I'm going to be making use of for this sloper, I'll make use of 3 inches. So you could do 2.5. Like I said, you use your accurate measurement. So I'm just going to place my pattern curve like this, and then I'll curve it out. So from this point now, I'm just going to measure out 1 inch to slope my shoulder line. That's my shoulder slope on this sloper. So you see what I have now from this 1 inch point now. So I have 8 inches, which then serves as my chest line measurement. So I'm just going to be sloping it to this point now, like this, to the neck and line point. I'm just going to slope it so you could see what I have now. So the next thing I'm going to be doing now for this sloper, I'm going to be measuring out the I'm going to be measuring out my dart lines. Yeah, I should impute the darts first. So I'm just going to take my tape like this for the dart. I'll come to the bust and line. I'll measure 4 inches for my dart, and then I'm just going to continue with the 4 inches on the waistline, and then I'll measure the 4 inches also on the hip line. So I'm going to connect with a straight ruler. I'm just going to join them like this together. So the next thing I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be adding the dart on my slopper. So in adding the dart, I'm just going to come to my waist and line and point like this. So for this slopper, like I said your accurate measurement. So that is what you're using. For mine, I'm going to be making use of 1/2 inch and dart for mine. So I'm just going to take 1/2 inch to this point, and then I'll take 1/2 inch to this point, and then I'll come to my chest and my bust line measurement. I'll come down by 1 inch. So this is my 1 inch, and then I'll come to my hip line. I could go as much as 3 inches, but I'm going to do 2.5 inches. So this is the line. So I'm going to be connecting my lines like this now. So you should just watch and see. Okay guys, so we have our front and darts on it now. So the next thing I'm going to continue now. So the next thing I'm going to continue, I'm going to add my armhole measurement. So I'm using my armhole, I have 8 inches. That's what I use. So I'm going to take half of the armhole measurement. So this is 8 inches, and then I'm going to come in from the 8 inches and mark points. I'm going to come in by 1/2 inch, or just a 1/4 inch. So I'm just going to take my straight and steel ruler. I'm just going to make something like a slant up to this point. So I have a slant to this point. So I'm going to be taking out on the front armhole line. And in taking out the front armhole line, I'm going to be using my bust measurement. Because I told you, I said it's the actual measurement. So I'm going to be using my bust measurement. And the bust measurement that I'm using is 10.5. So when you divide your measurement into 4, it's 10.5. And then I'll take it on the chest line line also. I'm just going to take it on the chest and line point. So I'm going to use my pattern curve now to connect it from this point to this point. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm just going to come to this point by like 1/2 inch, and then I'll do the back armhole. So this is the back armhole now. So I'm just going to connect it to this point. So I connected from this point now to this point. I connected from this to this. So this is the front armhole, this is the back armhole. So the next thing I'm going to be doing now on my slopper, I'm going to be taking out my full body measurement. So you remember we took out the bust measurements initially. So this is the bust measurement. So for instance, for beginners, if your bust is 40, when you divide 40 into 4, you have 10 inches. So that is your measurement. Then your waist measurement, you divide into 4 also. So what you have, so mine, I have a 9.5. So this is my 9.5. This is my 9.5, and you remember I took out 1 inch from this because of the dart. So I'm going to be adding the 1 inch back into it now. So I have 10.5. So it's going to be like this. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'll come to the hip line, and the hip measurement that I'm using, I'm going to be making use of 11.5 divided by 4. So now I'm going to connect my lines together. So you could see my bodice and sloper. You could see it's really looking good and nice. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to be adding the side darts to my sloper. So I'm going to be adding the sides and darts to my body sloper. So in adding my side dart, I'm going to come from this point now. I'm going to calculate how from the waistline, between my waistline and my bust line, I'm going to measure how many inch I have. So what I actually have here is 6 inches. So that's from this point, this line to this line, I have 6 inches. So I'll take on the center of the point. So this is the center of the point. So from this point, I'm going to measure. I'm going to come to this bust line point. So you remember this our bust line point. So this is my straight line. So I've made the straight line to this point. So from this point, I'm going to measure how long I want my dart to be. So I'm just going to, from this point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. So I'll follow the slope like this and measure 1 inch here. So I'll come to this point now, measure, and for my dart, I'll take half of an inch to the right hand side and then half of an inch to the left hand side. So I'm going to connect them now. So I'm going to connect them to come to this point. So that was just the essence of making this line. So I have my side dart. So the next thing I'm going to do now, because of this side dart, the 1 inch of this side dart, I'm going to be adding it back on the down of my sloper. Or else if I should add this to a garment and I cut it out, it's going to truncate. So this side is going to jump up. So I'm just going to bring the 1 inch back like this. And then I'm going to mark it here. So I'm going to be slanting it to this point. So I'll use my steel and ruler like this. And then I'm going to get out my curve. So guys, we are almost done with our bodice and sloper. So we are just like literally done. So I'm going to open it out now, and then I'll cut out the back pattern first. But before I cut out the back pattern, I'm going to extend the neckline, so I'll know how to cut it out perfectly well. So I'm just trying to get it curved out, okay? So the next thing I'll do now, add on the back neckline here. So for the back neckline, I'll be making use of 1 inch for the back neckline. So this is the 1 inch. So I'm just going to curve it out. So guys, we are literally done with our bodice and sloper. So now I'm going to cut out, I'm just going to cut it out now. So because of the back, I don't need this part for the back. So you can see this point. So I'm going to be cutting from this straight line like this. And it's going to be going down. So on the back, I'm going to take out that 1 inch. So I'm cutting from the back armhole. So I'm going to cut the shoulder slope area. So now I'm going to open it up and then cut out the back. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to cut out on the back and neckline before I cut out the front neckline. So this is my back pattern. So I'm just going to keep it to the side and then I'll cut out the front pattern neckline. So this is the front of my sloper. So I'll take out this excess now. So guys, so you could see how easy it is. This is on the front of my sloper. So the back, I'm going to be working on the back of my sloper now. So I'm just going to keep it and keep this one to the side, and then I'll insert my regular and the lines back into it. So this was on the other line. So I'm going to cut out that part. So the first thing, so this is the bust line, and then my waistline, and then the hip line. So I'm going to insert my darts back into it. I'm going to be inserting my dart. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to eliminate this extra because there's no side dart on the back pattern. So I'm going to cut this out from my sloper now, just to make it, to give it back that original. So I've finished cutting it out. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you how to, because I don't want the back of my sloper to bulge out. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to show you. I'll come to the waistline like this. So I'm just going to measure 1 inch like this. That's for my zipper allowance point. I'll reduce the zipper allowance side. I'm reducing it by 1 inch. So I'm just going to come down back and then measure back I'll reduce on the other part, that's from the down part. I'll measure 1.5. So my zipper allowance line. So let me put it out. Let me indicate it so you understand what I'm saying. So this is my original zipper allowance and line. So I came to the waist and line. I came to the waistline from this point. I measured out 1 inch. So 1 inch to this side, and then this one from this side is 1.5. So I'll come to the neckline point also. I'll measure out 1.5. So I'm just going to use my ruler. I'm going to show you how to connect this now. So I'm just going to make a slant like this from that top to those points now. And then from this point, I'll slant it back to this side. So I'm going to be getting rid of this point now. So I'm just going to blend it because I don't want it entirely sharp the way it is. Because of the ruler, I don't want it sharp like that ruler part. So it has to be, it will just be a little bit slanted, just to give that back shape to the sloper. So I'm going to cut it out. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to insert my waist and dart just the same way I did with the back, with the front pattern. I'm just going to come to this point. So the dots are already here as reference for me. So I'm going to cut out on the zipper allowance part. So I want you to see what I'm doing. Once you do this to your sloper, and when cutting on your actual fabric, once you are able to get this back parts right, your garments will never budge. You will never have any zipper bulge at the back, because you know the back is not really straight. So that is just the essence of this. Okay guys, so basically we're done. So I'm just going to get the front of my pattern of my sloper. So guys, so I'm just going to label it. This is the front sloper, and then this is the back. So guys, I've now come to the end of this illustration. So if you like what I did and with this bodice and sloper, please do not hesitate to like the video and then share it, comment if you have not done so already, and then subscribe if you have not subscribed. So thank you so much. Bye. I'll see you in the next time.